Hello there, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another rankings video, but this time around I'm not going to cover any specific artist or band. I'm going to talk about my top 10 favorite albums from 1990. And yes, this is going to be the first video in the series of videos where I'm going to talk about each year from the 90s and my top 10 albums from each of those years. In general, I really do like the 90s. I was born in 1990. I grew up listening to the 90s music, so there's a bunch of stuff that I really do love. And I'm going to start with my top 10 favorite albums from 1990. I know people tend to, say there's nothing good that came out in 1990 or it's a weak year, but I disagree, especially if you're a metal fan. There's plenty to love from this year. But anyway, my number 10 is Public Enemy Fear of a Black Planet. This is the third studio album by American hip hop group Public Enemy, and to me, this is a great continuation of their previous record. They managed to produce another great album, even better than the one they came before it, in my opinion. The beats are aggressive, the messages are even more political and angry, as evident on the songs like 911 is a joke, the title track, and maybe their most well-known song, Fight the Power. The production is really good, it is dense, with great use of samples throughout. It is a classic album for a reason. At number 9, I have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, The Good Son. I already covered Nick Cave in a separate video, you can go and check that one out. I talked about this album a little bit more, but yes, The Good Son is kind of a unique album in their discography, a bridge between old and new Nick Cave. Comparing this album to their previous releases, it feels different. It's lush, it is intricate, beautiful arrangements throughout. The Good Sound feels hopeful compared to the bleakness of Tender Prey, the album that came before it. Blixa Bergel also shines here, especially on the Weeping song, a duet between him and Nick. That is my favorite song from this album and one of my favorite Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds songs in general. The Ship song, on the other hand, is one of their best ballads they wrote up to that point. The album is more accessible than their previous effort by a lot, and all in all, it is a beautiful record that showed a different side of the band. Like I mentioned, I think 1990 is a fantastic year for metal music, and the first one I'll mention on number 8, but not the last, is the debut record from Swedish death metal band Entombed and their record Left Hand Path. One of the pioneers of so-called buzzsaw guitar tone that will be associated with Swedish death metal scene. The production is really good for what it is. It is not muddy. The guitar tone is meaty, like I mentioned. Everything sounds huge and in your face. Vocal performance by Lars Goran Petro is brutal. Great riffs throughout, great playing all around, and important record for the future development of that Swedish death metal scene. They set up the stage for the bands to come, especially in that specific guitar tone that it is widely associated with this specific Göteborg style of death metal. At number 7, I have Depeche Mode, Violator. I'm not the biggest Depeche Mode fan, but I do love their 90s work a lot, and this might be their best record in my opinion. 9 songs that are all killer, no filler. Of course, the album has some of the biggest singles, Enjoy the Silence and Personal Jesus, but bunch of great deep cuts as well. Their most maybe mature record up to that point. It is an improvement over the 80s output in every way, in my humble opinion. I know some people really do love 80s stuff, that is fine, but to me, I personally love their 90s output. The album is sinister, it is dirty, it is sensual, and a fantastic synth pop album all in all. At number 6, I have Pixies, Bossa Nova record. An underrated Pixies record, maybe a bit softer than their previous release, more streamlined than Doolittle, less chaotic, but bunch of catchy songs here. 14 tracks, and in true Pixies fashion, they're a bunch of short songs. Some of them, and my biggest gripe with this record is some of these songs kind of feel that needed to be more, they needed to be longer. For example, songs like Allison and Anna that are both great tracks, but I feel they could be a bit longer. I mean, Allison is like 1 minute or something, so bunch of great hooky, catchy rock songs like Veluria, Javelina, Cecilia Ann. And it's a nice combination of that surf rock mixed with, I don't know, aliens, UFO, sci-fi element to it. Maybe not as good as Doolittle, but still a great record. At number five, I have Alice in Chains and their debut record, Facelift. This is maybe the first grunge record that kind of broke into mainstream with songs We Die Young and Man in the Box, especially. Uh, for the debut record, Alice in Chains hit hard. It is the heaviest grunge band that came from the 90s. The riffs are as heavy as some of the metal acts of that time. Unique vocals of Lane Staley and beautiful vocal harmonies stand out the most. And of course, I have to mention Jerry Cantrell as well and his guitar work. Some of these riffs are marvelous. Facelift is raw, unapologetic, bleak, and heavy. It is a great debut record by a great band who will go on and make another great record just 2 years later. But we'll talk about that one hopefully when we go to 1992. At number four, I have Sonic Youth and their record Goo, one of the most accessible Sonic Youth records, an easy listen for many people who struggled with earlier Sonic Youth, especially their No Way phase, which I do like, by the way. But hopefully, soon enough, I'm going to talk about their discography in detail. The songwriting is different here. It is focused on structure and flow and melodies. It is still noisy, and that guitar tone I adore. Kim Gordon shines here, and for me, Tunic, Song for Karen, is one of the best Sonic Youth songs ever. The lyrics are great once again and always interesting. And this album is an important step for alternative rock scene that would explode just a year or two after the release of this album. Unfortunately, this album didn't sell as well, but the influence is definitely there. So number four, Sonic Youth Goo. At number three, I have Cocteau Twins and their record Heaven or Las Vegas. And what a beautiful album this is. And as soon as you hear the opening notes of cherry colored funk, you're in for a ride, a dream ride. Gorgeous dreamlike vocals, lush instrumentation that add to the overall ethereal element that this album possessed. And if something is an example of what dream pop is supposed to be, well, this album is that. This is the perfect representation of what dream pop is all about. The album just grabs you and doesn't let go until the final track plays out. The vocal performance by Elizabeth Fraser is amazing. The best dream pop album in my opinion ever. And we have two more albums to go. And if you've been following this channel for some time, you can kind of guess what my number two and number one are. So without further ado, my number two is Judas Priest Painkiller. After two not so good records, the band gets back on track. They hire Scott Travis on drums, who brought a new energy to the band, a change in their sound. They feel energized here, and that becomes apparent from the first couple of seconds when the title track kicks in with that amazing drum intro. Um, the whole album goes hard and never stops. The sheer intensity of these songs makes this album more of a speed metal album than heavy metal. Rob Halford sounds amazing. The performances are tight. It is uh, an album packed with great songs, so it's really hard to pinpoint only a couple of songs. It is a majestic, fantastic album, and in my opinion, the best Judas Priest album and one of the better albums from early 90s, metal albums from the early 90s. But is it good as my number one? Well, no, because my number one is Megadeth, Rust in Peace. The Blue album cover Supremacy. This album is pure technical masterclass. It combines elements of classic thrash metal, heavy metal, technicality, and melodic hooks. The songs are crafted with care, and every second of this record is a pure bliss to my ears. Out of all thrash metal albums released by the so-called Big Four, this is my favorite by a lot. Uh, as Scott Travis brought something new for Judas Priest, so did Marty Friedman for Megadeth. The dual guitar combo of Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman on this album is magical. Blistering solo dueling on Hangar 18 is one of a kind and one of my favorite Megadeth songs. Every band member contributed something for this album. David Ellison on bass, Nick Manza intense drumming, and just to mention, Nick Manza became a new drummer after So Far So Good, So What, and this lineup is by far the best Megadeth lineup ever. And what I love about this album, besides the complexion, the technicality, and how textured the guitar work is, it is runtime. It is a short listen. This album is perfect in my opinion. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, you name it. I love it. And it's by far my favorite album of 1990. And yeah, so this is my list. Please share your thoughts down in the comments. Share your list as well if you have one. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. And in the next episode, I'm going to talk about my favorite albums from 1991. Bye.